Factoring quadratic expressions. To factor quadratic expressions, you need to look for factors of the constant and the sum of the x term. First thing we need to realize is a quadratic expression is anything where there's an x squared plus bx plus c, where the signs can be positive or negative. Could also have negative or a negative here, and then the b and c can be anything, any number. To factor it, we're going to factor it out into something where it's x times x as the first terms, and then it's either going to be plus or minus, and plus or minus, and then we're going to have some numbers here. We don't know what those numbers are. You're going to have something to do with the b and c. Okay, so the process of factoring quadratic expressions is to first look at the second sign. If the second sign is negative, then the signs in the factors are opposite. So that would mean that there is one positive and one negative. And then you just need to figure out which one is which. If the second sign is positive, then the signs in the factors are the same, and they are both whatever the first sign is. So you look at the second sign, and then that tells you if they're opposite or if they are what the first sign is. The next step is to find the factors. To do this, what we need to do is first find the factors of the constant term, and then find the ones that are going to sum to give you the x term coefficient. Okay, so basically you look at the constant, find what multiplies together to get them, and then add those together to find the correct group of factors. And then you have pretty much solved your factors. You just have to put them into the parentheses, and you're done. So we're going to do some examples here where we're just factoring the quadratic expressions. So I know that my final answer, I need to have something in parentheses here. And I know for my x squared here, I'm going to put x and x, so that if I were to multiply back out, I would get x squared. Now, the first step is to look at your last sign. Second sign is positive. If the second sign is positive, then they're both the same sign, and they're both the first sign. So they're both going to be positive, plus and plus. Okay, now comes the trial and error part. I need to look at my constant term, which is my 15, and I need to find the factors of 15. So that would be 1 times 15, 3 times 5, and that would be all your factors of 15. So now the last step is to find the factors that would sum to give you your x coefficient, which is 8. So I want my sum to be 8. Well, 1 plus 15 is 16, and 3 plus 5 is 8. So that means it has to be the 3 plus 5. So I'm going to put 3 and 5. So my final answer is going to be x plus 3 times x plus 5. That is your final answer in factored form. So the next one we're going to do the same way. So I have to put things in parentheses, and since I have an x squared here, it's going to be x and x. And then I need to look at my second sign, and I have a plus, so they're both going to be the same, both going to be my first sign, which is a minus, so that means minus and minus. Okay, so the next step is to find my factors of my constant term, 24, which would be 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6, and that would be all of them. And then I need to find the sum of negative 11, And since they're both the same, both numbers are going to be negative. So negative 1 plus negative 24 is negative 25. So it's not that one. Negative 2 plus negative 12 is negative 14. So it's not that one. Negative 3 plus negative 8 equals a negative 11. So that is the answer we're looking for. And we don't even have to try the other one because we know this one's already going to work. We could if we wanted to. Negative 4 plus negative 6 is negative 10. So it's not that one. So now I know that my factors are negative 3 and negative 8. So I'm going to put 3 and 8. And it doesn't matter which is which because they're both negative. So that would be your final answer. The quantity x minus 3 times the quantity x minus 8. Example 3, we have x squared plus 2x minus 15. So that's going to give me x and x. My second sign is negative, so my signs are going to be opposite, 1 plus, 1 minus. I'm looking for factors of my constant term, which is 15. So that would be 1 times 15 and 3 times 5. Now here's the catch. We're looking for a sum of positive 2. Positive 2. Okay, so when we're doing that, we're going to add, one has to be positive and one negative. So we have to be careful about which one is which. Use trial and error to find which is which, to find which one you need. Okay, so if I were to have a negative 1 plus 15, then that's going to give me a positive 14, which is nowhere near what I'm looking for. So a positive 1 plus a negative 15 is going to give me a negative 14. So again, that one's nowhere near what I'm looking for. So it has to be my 3 and 5 in some way. I just need to figure out which one is positive, which one is negative. So that would be, if it's a negative 3 plus 5, I get 2. So that would be my answer because that's what I'm looking for, a positive 2 as my answer. If I tried 3 minus 5, or plus a negative 5, would be a negative 2, which is not the answer I want. So I know my 3 is negative and my 5 is positive. So I'm going to put my 5 with the plus and my 3 with the negative. And that would be your final answer. In the last example, we have x squared minus 2x minus 35. So that's x, x, and I need to now look at my sign. Second sign is negative, so my signs are going to be opposite, one positive, one negative. And I'm looking for factors of 35. 1 and 35, 5 and 7. Okay, so now I'm looking for a sum of negative 2 this time. It's a negative 2 instead of a positive 2. So right now I can see that the difference between 1 and 35 is really huge. So we can eliminate that one. So I'm going to go right to the 5 and the 7 and see what I can do with that. So if I go negative 5 plus 7, I get a positive 2. Well, we don't want a positive 2, we want a negative 2. So it can't be that one. So that means it's got to be a positive 5 plus a negative 7 is going to give me a negative 2, which is exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to put my 7 with my negative and my 5 with my positive, and then that would be your final answer. And you can always multiply them back out to check. So if you're not sure about your answer, then check your answer by going backwards. And that's it. So those are your notes over factoring quadratic expressions if there's no leading coefficient. So go through some practice problems, then you'll be ready for the next video and then the quiz.